Take a look at the knife the man is holding. If you look closely, you can see the tip is broken. Even I don't have to look closely to see that, Mr. Wright. But, Mr. Wright, look at the evidence. See the motor weapon? Its tip is broken too. If I recall, the tip of the knife was found broken off in the victim's body. It was the conclusive piece of evidence that proved Joe Dark was the murderer. I'm afraid it's not so simple, Emma. And where, pray tell, could you possibly see a problem? It's obvious, really. The victim suffered a single stab wound in the back. If the victim was only stabbed once, then the motor weapon should not have yet been broken! Ah! What is the meaning of this? Perhaps the knife was broken beforehand. Sorry, but I'm afraid that's not possible. The tip of the knife was found inside the victim's body. If it was broken beforehand, it couldn't possibly wind up in there. That's right, but what does that mean? The tip of the knife was undeniably discovered within the victim's body. The only possible explanation is the witness memory is mistaken. That's why I asked her so many times if she was sure she remembered correctly. I believe you were annoyed at the time, but she was sure she remembered correctly. But there's no other way to explain this inconsistency. Not so fast, Mr. Edgeworth. There is another explanation. Have you forgotten already? About a little something called falsified evidence. You're treading on thin ice, right? All I'm saying is that this broken knife tip might be the piece of evidence that was forged. You can't deny the possibility. No. Ah! Order! Order! Are you saying the investigation really was corrupted? Your Honor, please allow me once again to go over the evidence that the events that took place on the day of the murder. The police department and the prosecutor's office were holding a ceremony that day. After receiving the King of Prosecution's award at the ceremony, Neil Marshall questioned Joe Dark alongside with Damon Gatt. During his questioning, Joe Dark fled the room. Prosecutor Marshall chased after him and was killed by Dark. It is my belief that somewhere in the story there is a lie. I'm not lying! The man really was holding up a broken knife! If that's true, then there's no other way around it. This could not have been the actual motor weapon. There must have been another broken knife. What are the chances of there being two broken knives? Another broken knife besides Joe Dark's. Could there have been one? No, there was another one. We already know about it. I know about it. If the witness is this adamant about the accuracy of what she saw, it can't just be explained away by a simple observational error. Mr. Wright? In this instant, Emma really did see a broken knife. I assume, then, that you have some information about this other broken knife. If so, please feel free to enlighten us. The motor weapon was already broken prior to the murder. There's only one way. Take a look at this. Here's the real motor weapon. If anything's broken here... Why is this game going slow? It's you. Huh? I'm sure this must be very amusing to you, Mr. Wright, but oh, come on! We know about the shield! Ugh! But the sword's not a freaking thing! So I just bring out the actual... photo? Oh, this game at times is just annoying. The answer lies in the past, 2 years in the past, right here inside this picture. This is a picture of the award ceremony. This is a picture of the award ceremony. Ah! What is it, Mr. Edgeworth? It's the broken motor weapon! Notice the award Prosecutor Marshall is holding. I know, and I showed the freaking thing! So they should have put two and two together about the freaking broken sword. That's a broken knife! Oh, this thing's annoying. As we earlier concluded, the knife in the drawing was not Joe Dark's. That belonged in the case. The knife the witness saw was, in all likelihood, from this award. Unfortunate that apparently the knife sword came out. Order! 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 Neil Marshall was awarded the King of Prosecutors that day. As an award, he was given this broken shield and knife. When he chased after Joe Dark, he pulled out this knife. Being a prosecutor, he did not carry a pistol. This broken knife was the only weapon he had in this dangerous situation. But that can't be. Oh, and why not, Mr. Edgeworth? Because if the King of Prosecution Award knife was the murder weapon, then the murderer and the victim would be reversed. What do you mean? I mean, the man raising the knife would have been Prosecutor Neil Marshall. He could have dropped the knife, but the prosecutor was the one who was actually died. That's true? What's going on here? It seems Mr. Wright has been a bit too eager to jump to conclusions. Wait! I remember now! I remember everything! Witness? Mr. Edgeworth. What is it? Could you show me your evidence list again, please? His list? The one with that picture scribbled on the back. I knew it! This picture. I'm the one who drew it! What? You drew that? That's right. The list wasn't torn in half at the time I drew this picture. All this time, I've been trying so hard to forget. I must have locked this part away deep inside of me. Perhaps it would be best if we added this to the witness's testimony. Would you please tell us what you recall, Miss Skye? Yes, Your Honor. First the knife mix-up, and now the blue badger? This should... What the heck is going on? This should be interesting. Oh, a tiny earthquake or something going on, because I don't know why stuff is shaking. Emma's recollection. When I saw that man raise his knife, I panicked and rushed toward both of them. I think I knocked away the man with the knife. Just then, there was another flash of lightning. That's when I saw the blue badger. He wasn't in the room, but I'm sure I saw his shadow. This is certainly most unusual. Try impossible. The chief of detectives hadn't even designed him until this year. That would mean he didn't even exist 2 years ago. Yes, well, the defense may now... Stop! Please, don't pursue this any further! Lana, what is the meaning of this? Please remain seated in the defendant's chair. But you can't do this. I've already convinced him with a crime. Why can't you just leave it at that? Chief Prosecutor Skye, we've already come this far. It's too late to turn back. Silence. The defense will now begin its cross-examination. Bailiff, please detain the defendant. I think we're finally getting to the core of this matter. When I saw the man raise his knife... When you say that man, I assume you refer to Joe Dark. Yes, at least I think it was him. You think? All I could really see was shadows. The power outage that immediately preceded the incident is also documented in the prosecutor's office reports. So then you... I panicked and rushed toward both of them. Why would you do something so dangerous? What else could I have done? He was about to stab Mr. Marshall. She seemed convinced that Dark was the one holding the knife. But, as we've just theorized, Mr. Marshall was the one holding the knife. Well, I didn't know that at the time. When I saw that dark guy knock me down, all I could think of was, I gotta help out that other person! I think I knocked away the man with the knife. What do you mean, you think? It all happened so fast, and I was in shock. I don't remember everything clearly. What I did, it's kind of a blur. Miss Sky was almost killed before she was witness to a murder about to take place. With so much happening in a matter of seconds, a little disorientation is only natural. I saw the man about to stab the other person, who I saw was Mr. Marshall. I knew I had to stop the man with the knife. What you did was very brave, young girl. So then, what happened next? Just then, there was a big flash of light, and that's when I saw the blue badger. You sure about this? Of course, see? I even drew a picture of him here. But it was the chief of detectives who thought up of this hideous beast, and that was just this year. The blue badger didn't exist 2 years ago. This is quite verifiable. I know it sounds strange. I was surprised too when I saw him at the police department. I had this nagging feeling that I'd seen him somewhere before. Now I finally remember. Oh, bother. Just when you thought that that thing had caused enough commotion. Tell us, where in the room did you see him dancing? He wasn't in the room, but I'm sure I saw his shadow. His shadow? So you mean you didn't actually see his face with its winning smile and all? That's right, but I still remember it. He had 3 creepy horns. This is pointless. That thing could not have possibly existed 2 years ago. The witness must be mistaken. That may well be. But what's important is what caused her to think she saw what she did. Oh, and I suppose you have an explanation. I'm saving because of the stupid trophy and about when I'm gonna have to actually show it off. If so, then by all means, please tell us what this shadow really was. Who was this blue badger really? I just might know. Blue badger hadn't even been dreamt up when Emma drew this picture, yet she's stunned she saw its shadow. Ladies and gentlemen, it is the defense belief that on the fateful day 2 years ago, there indeed was something that looked similar to the blue badger. Something that is now sitting in this very room. Mr. Wright! In this room? Very well, Mr. Wright. What is it that the witness saw in that instant? Please show us this mysterious blue badger look-alike. The mysterious blue badger was, in fact, this. But, what exactly is that? I believe it is some sort of jaw. But, Mr. Wright, that doesn't look anything like the blue badger. Indeed it doesn't. As it stands now, it's just a plain jaw. However, what if we were to change our viewpoint? Our viewpoint? We've got to show them the correct angle to look at this from. Well, is this a miracle or what? No one can possibly deny this jaw resemblance to the blue badger. No, it can't be! The defense has proven its claim. The mysterious blue badger witness on the day of the crime was actually this. Although we all enjoy Mr. Wright's dramatic performance, one question remains. What's your point? What do you mean? So that blue badger thing was actually just a jaw. That doesn't change anything. I'm afraid that's where you're wrong, Mr. Edgeworth. You see, this changes everything. Indeed. Very well then, please tell us. What's different now that we know the witness saw this jaw? The location, the motor weapon, the murderer. I'm honestly not sure. I don't want to say the murderer, but it does have her blood on it, but we don't want to just say Emma's a killer. Besides, I still want to say it's Gant who's the actual killer. We don't know the murder weapon because we just said that was a knife. The location? Allow me to take these in turn. At the moment of the murder, the witness saw this jaw. At a very specific angle, I might add, Mr. Wright. Yes. Well, knowing this, where could she have seen this jaw? Where? The location of the jaw is shown on the picture taken on the day of the crime. It's on a shelf in the office of Damon Gant. But the body was found lying near Lana Sky's desk. The witness testified so herself. Yes, and yes, and it is these two facts that reveal what actually transpired. You see, the struggle between Damon Dark and Marshall did not take place in Lana Sky's office. It happened on the other side of the room in Chief Gant's office. Are you implying the murderer moved the victim's body from Damon Gant's office to Lana Sky's office? Yes. Why would he do that? There is no reason. Exactly. If there wasn't a reason, he wouldn't have gone through the trouble. The only logical conclusion is that there was a reason. Do you know what that reason was, Mr. Wright? I finally figured it out. So this is why Lana tried to stop the trial. It's too late to quit now, though. Please recall the witness's testimony. She said she knocked away the man who was holding up the knife. In the next instant, the jaw was hit and flew through the air. Now tell me, what could have sent the jaw flying? That would have to have been the impact the man made when he was knocked to the floor. Ladies and gentlemen, if I may draw your attention to this picture once more. If the man was knocked into the direction of the shelf the jaw was sitting on, what would he have hit? The spear! Oh, that's why it got him in the back. A suit of armor, holding a very sharp and dangerous-looking sword. Yes. And since the man who was knocked into the armor was carrying a broken knife, he would have been Neil Marshall, wielding the King of Prosecutors trophy. Mr. Wright, you can't be thinking... Yes. There was another possibility of what actually transpired in that room. Another possibility? Of course, the perpetrator would have no idea, but nevertheless. I don't know if I can actually go through with this. Mr. Wright, what is the matter? If events took place as the defense theorizes, then the outcome is obvious. In that moment, assuming the man Emma Sky knocked away was actually Prosecutor Neil Marshall. You mean Mr. Marshall died because of me? No! I never imagined her testimony would lead to this. So it was the witness who took the victim's life. And then proved so with her own testimony. This is unexpected. What? What are you saying? I'm sorry, Miss Sky, but given the circumstances, Joe Dark murdered Prosecutor Marshall. How can you think it was Emma? How dare you try to pin the crime on her? Imagine that coming from you. If you recall, it was you who admitted to forging evidence 2 years ago. The reason you moved Prosecutor Marshall's body was to keep anyone else from finding out what Emma did, wasn't it? I assure you, Mr. Edwards, I have no idea what you're talking about. If you hope to have anyone believe your insane allegations, I'm afraid you're gonna have to have proof. Tell me, do you have any conclusive evidence that proves that my sister killed Neil Marshall? Evidence? I'm willing to bet you don't. Yes, it certainly would be difficult to prove it was evidence. If we don't have evidence, then we'll have to rely on testimony. I'm afraid that won't work in this case. Both parties involved in the incident are dead. Certainly can't get dead people to testify. This has been a wild goose chase from the beginning. Touché, Miss Skye, of course! That only leaves us with one possibility. You mean there's still another possibility? What do you mean, Mr. Edgeworth? I mean the possibility that the victim has left us a message. For better or for worse, Mr. Marshall did not die instantly. He may have left behind the name of the person who took his life, in one matter or another. That's impossible. Well, Mr. Wright, this is the only possibility left to you. A message from the deceased. Does such a message exist? I gotta think back to the court record. The real murderer's name the victim may have left behind. I think it's the leather cloth. This message from the deceased is already in our possession. Mr. Wright! Will you stop at nothing to prove my sister's murderer? To prove my sister's a murderer. Do not be mistaken, Miss Skye. Our proposal is not to accuse Emma of any crime. There is only one thing we seek, the truth. No matter how painful it may be. Now then, Mr. Wright, please show us the piece of evidence that conveys a message from the deceased. This is the message from the deceased. Right. Now then... God dang it. This is the message from the judge. Oh, I guess it wasn't right. Better be careful, you might wind up deceased yourself. The handprint on... This is a message left by the deceased. What is this? The blue badger from before, right? Oh, is he going to speak the killer's name? If that thing could, I'm sure it would. Looks like everyone's forgotten this is just a jar. The message was left here on the surface of this jar. What do you mean? If you look closely, you can see a faint trail of blood on this jar. It looks like someone wiped the blood away. Yes, but notice. For some reason, the blood on some of the fragment was not wiped away. Yes, there's a line here, drawn in blood. So what you're saying is these dots were once lines. Prosecutor Marshall did not die instantly. He used a few precious moments of left in him to leave a message behind. One that someone apparently wiped away. But blood must have seeped into the jar where the lines changed directions. Precisely so. All we need to do is connect these points, and the victim's message will be apparent. No! Mr. Wright, what kind of message did the victim leave for us? Your Honor, I believe these bloodstains will reveal the answer. I've got to connect these dots to make a letter. There's only one thing the victim would have written, given the circumstances, his mother's name. No, shoot! And I did undo. God dang it, my finger. Keep hitting the wrong freaking buttons every time. It's a defense attorney's duty to prove the client innocent. That's why all I've been singing about is saving Lana. After all my efforts, I never thought I'd have to turn out like this. Emma. So, this is the final message Prosecutor Marshall left behind. Of all people, she may not have meant it, but in the end, the one who took the victim's life was Emma Skye. Seaworthy! Can't say I didn't warn you. Chief Gant, do you understand the implications of what you've done? What? What are you talking about? 2 years ago, Joe Dog was sentenced to death. He was convicted because of his final murder. Final murder? I believe you were the prosecutor in the case, were you not? Ugh. Yes, Worthy. Because of you, an innocent man was sentenced to death. Not only that, but you used forged evidence to ensure his conviction. But Joe Dock really was a serial murderer. That's undeniable. I'm afraid that's not important. Didn't you know? We aren't defenders of justice. What? We're merely keepers of the law, sentencing a man to death. There is no light matter. Even if there wasn't any cover-up or evidence forgery. Ultimately, the responsibility falls on the prosecutor in charge. Despite what anyone may say, this fact cannot be denied. What's going on at the prosecutor's office? How can he just stand there like that? Like it wasn't his fault! Order! 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 The call for pounding fell on deaf ears. Unable to settle the crowd, the judge declared a recess. Where the trial is headed, no one knows. This trial is the trial that never ends. Oh boy, didn't think I was gonna get Emma in trouble for potentially killing somebody. Ooh, not our shining moment.